Ready, fight.
Okay, she's here, the Opal Lee doll. She's looking a little disheveled. Let's get a closer look at her in the box. Her glasses are pretty much knocked off. You can see the face paint clearly. Her hair is mushed down. Let me turn the ring light off for a second so you can see without the glare. Alright, now again, as you can see, her glasses have slid down and her hair is definitely a mess. There's a picture of her on the back of the box. This style of box is what most of the historic and sports series boxes have been looking like. The Venus Williams doll came in a very similar box. You can see part of her stand back there. Clearly she's on one of those waistband stands that I don't like because they're fragile. But the base is red, which is kind of cool. There's also a picture of her on the side, and let's see the back. The back says, Barbie recognizes all female role models. The Inspiring Women series pays tribute to incredible heroines of their time, courageous women who took risks, changed lives, and paved the way for generations of girls to dream bigger than ever before. Young Opal Lee was 12 years old when she and her family moved into their new home in Fort Worth, Texas. But 4 days later, on June 19th, 1939, a mob of rioters destroyed their house and set their belongings on fire. Opal understood the significance of the day. It was Juneteenth, the anniversary marking the day in 1863 when Union soldiers arrived in Texas to announce and enforce emancipation. 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation was signed, the incident would be pivotal in the tapestry of her life. A determined Opal Lee dedicated her life to advocating for human dignity and creating awareness about the history of Juneteenth. Known as the grandmother of Juneteenth, at the age of 89, she courageously walked hundreds of miles from Fort Worth, Texas, to Washington, D.C., to petition lawmakers to make Juneteenth a federal holiday. 5 years later, in 2021, the Civil Rights Crusaders' dream really became reality when legislation was passed. Opal Lee was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 2024. Now, almost 100, she continues to walk 2.5 miles every Juneteenth in her annual Opal's Walk to Freedom events. Her quote is, "If people can be taught to hate, they can be taught to love." So, I opened it from the bottom, and I always end up tearing it a little. But she slid right out. You can see the base of her stand is red. Again, I don't love these stands, but the red base is nice. It looks like they did not tag her head in. Yep, no head tag, just the bands in the back. That's excellent. I really appreciate when they don't tag through the doll's scalp. Now, let's talk about her face. Everything is painted on. She does have a small bump under her lip. You could argue that's where the lip line should have ended. So the bump isn't a huge issue, but I don't think that it was designed specifically to make her look older. Unlike the happy family mom, she doesn't have deep molded crevices for her cheek lines, but they pushed her eyes slightly further back. They're slightly more set, and that gives her natural curvature along the cheek where the mold pushes inward. That's probably the only real sculpted crevice she has. The rest of the aging is created with white and darker paint lines around the eyes to create the illusion of folds. I actually don't mind what they did around the eyes. It's probably the strongest area. But the lines around the mouth, they're just drawn on, not shadowed, not blended, just straight lines. I'm not a huge fan of that execution. I do love her hair, though. It's one of the biggest positives for me. She is flat-footed. She has no ankle articulation. I believe she has around 11 points of articulation. Knees, elbows, and wrists are articulated. She's basically on the Barbie Extra style curvy flat foot body. In fact, I have a match right here. Barbie looks number 2 is the made to move match, though, if you want to put Opal on a curvy made to move body. That body is one of the harder ones to acquire, but that's the one you're going to want. She also has a small mole under her nose, which I really like. That's a great detail. Now, if you wanted to make her younger, you could wipe off all these painted lines very easily. But instead, I decided to enhance them. I went in and I shadowed the lines so they don't look like harsh double drawn streaks at the end of her mouth. I extended the lines slightly across her face and blended them in. I deepened her under eye bags and added more natural shadowing. And I also dropped the corners of her mouth slightly because as you age, the muscles around the mouth soften and the corners tend to turn downward a bit. I added subtle texture to her forehead so her skin reads more mature. On the box art, she has aged skin on her forehead, but I do not see wrinkles in the drawing, so I just want to reflect that. I used Crayola Colors of the World markers. The shade I used was Deep Almond. They're water-based, so you can blend them with your finger, being just a little damp. If you make a mistake, you can wash it off very easily, and it makes them really forgiving for this type of work. All right, let's see Grandma's hair unleashed. She's looking a little wild right now. I want her hair to look closer to the box reference. And I can't hot wash it now because I'd lose the face work. So I'll have to finesse it while it's dry. So here they are, Grandma Happy and Opal Lee side by side. She definitely looks slightly older than the Happy Family grandmother, even though the Happy Family grandma has molded facial lines and Opal's are painted. The Happy Family grandmother has forehead wrinkles and slight crow's feet sculpted in. Opal does not have molded forehead wrinkles, which is why I added subtle texture. The Happy Family sculpt also has deeper inset eye creases, while Opal relies more on paint to suggest age. Overall, though, once blended, I think Opal looks fantastic. The original lines almost act like sketch guidelines. Once softened and shaded, she really comes to life. I love her hair. I love that she can stand on her own. So, iPhones have this new pause recording feature, and I think I've been hitting the wrong button to unpause because I've been losing stuff I've recorded. So, I'll just interject here that her pants are a similar polyester like the You Create kit clothing with a light stretch to it. They have elastic at the waist. It's a cotton t-shirt as it should be, and the shoes are cute with red soles, a white canvas backing, and blue strips. I appreciate the curvy body choice. Even though it's an extra body, it's a good starter. I don't typically like flat-footed dolls, but the fact that she can stand on her own changes my mind. Now, let's swap Grandma into a curvy extra body too. It seems the extra body has thinner thighs than the made to move because I can get her pants to slide over her thighs. But there is a gap in the back. If you've seen Toya's Velcro trick where she adds a small piece inside to pull the fabric together, that should fix it. I switched her into flat shoes to test if she also could stand on her own. Come on, Grandma, you can do it. Turns out it really is all in the shoes. And now she's also standing, no stands needed. So she'll probably stay in this curvy body with her clothes. And voila, there you have it. Now Grandma has a friend her age, or a little older.
Oh my gosh, an older man. How you doing, handsome? How about taking out a beautiful lady sometime?
Opal Lee, this is my husband. Grandpa happy.
Well, I'm sure you can make me happy too, Grandpa.
Opal Lee.
You know how hard it is to find a good older man. Girl, you know sharing is caring.
He ain't gonna know nothing about no Sharon or Karen. I'm clearly the better old lady with my sculpted wrinkles, you painted wrinkle face.
Yeah, well, at least I truly have gray hair, unlike you, dye job.
How fast can you get here? The ladies are sparring.
Even my wardrobe is more reflective of my age, you old cougar.
You're just jealous I came with newer articulation, clickety-click knees.
What's going on here, ladies?
Another older gentleman.
I heard there's a commotion. Women fighting is pretty hot.
Twins.
I like a spicy grandma.
Let this be a lesson to all. There's no need to steal someone else's lover. There's always someone out there just for you. Don't let anyone get in the way of your blooming friendship. So who do you think is the better grandma? Or does Mattel still need to put one out that merges sculpt, face paint, and hair? Leave a comment below.
If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment below. Thanks for playing dolls with me.